That sounds fun. That sounds fun.
Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of That Sounds Fun. I'm your host, Annie F. Downs. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and one of your favorite guests is here too. Before we dive into this conversation, I want to tell you about one of our incredible sponsors, AG1. Y'all know I don't drink coffee, right? I kind of wake up like this, but we've talked about it, but I do drink AG1 in the mornings. It gives me the energy boost I need. There's no caffeine crash. I also know that I'm giving my body the nutrient support it really needs to power through the rest of the day. AG1 contains prebiotics, probiotics, and gut-supporting ingredients to support your digestion, reduce bloating, and keep you, well, regular. I just mix 1 scoop of AG1 in really cold water. I sometimes throw in some frozen lemon juice. Today, I put some elderberry syrup in there. And then I am good to go. So start with AG1 and notice the difference for yourself. It is a great first step in investing in your own health. And that's why they've been a proud partner of ours for so long. Try AG1 and get a free bottle of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/soundsfun. That's a $48 value totally for free if you go to drinkag1.com/soundsfun. Y'all check it out. Today on the show, we get to talk with my friend Kendra Adachi, or better known to you and me as the Lazy Genius. Y'all know Kendra has helped me lazy genius all the things, including my freezer, which you can watch that video. We linked it in the show notes. She's basically lazy genius my whole life. And y'all are going to love her new book on time management called The Plan. Seriously, it releases tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you're working full-time or part-time, managing your home or schoolwork. This book is so helpful. Because you know Kendra, she isn't just talking about making like your calendar work. She's talking about your soul. I always love learning from Kendra. I think you will too. So here's my conversation with my friend, the lazy genius, Kendra Adachi.
That sounds fun.
All right, Kendra Adachi, welcome back to That Sounds Fun.
Thank you for having me, Annie. I love coming on your show.
What a thrill. I love when my friends release books for a lot of reasons, but one of them is I get to have a scheduled conversation with people that I love. So thank you for doing this. Okay, the first question we have got to ask, because the show is called That Sounds Fun, we're in our 10th year, you got to start with what sounds fun to Kendra Adachi right now.
A house that one side has a beach view, the other side has a mountain view. Food is delivered.
Right.
There are books and all the streaming services, and no one needs me. That is what sounds fun right now.
Yeah, I support all of that. None of that. I don't have a husband or kids yet, and I feel that same way. So I can feel that is a international feeling.
It is. So if anybody has a place like that, I have some very specific geographical requirements.
Yeah, I think it has to be Hawaii, right?
I get
Hawaii or Scotland.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Those are like the only 2 places, and I've never been to either. I'm going to choose, I was going to say I choose Scotland, but then it's like the food makes me nervous. But James McAvoy might be there. I need to pick Scotland. That's probably my option.
I do know how you feel about you and Aaron Moon and your James McAvoy-ness. Listen, I also, oh gosh, I have so many. I love this book so much. I just loved every bit of it.
Thank you.
So I have 1,000 things I want to say to you about the book. And so one of them is, in the end, you said to Aaron Moon, I thought about you every page.
I did. Aaron Moon.
Why?
Aaron's kind of my muse. You know, we have been taught in the online marketing space to have like an ideal listener or reader or customer or whatever. Because if you try to write to everybody, you write to no one. If you try to speak to everyone, you really speak to no one. And so knowing the specificity of who you're talking to, weirdly includes more people, the more specific you are with who you're talking to. And so
please say that to authors, because everybody, when people write new books, they say, this is actually for everyone who's a Christian. And I'm like, then no one's going to read it.
No one's going to care.
I mean, every time I write a book, including right now, I have a picture either on my computer or framed on my desk of the person I am writing that book to.
Yeah. It feels counterintuitive, but it still works. It's still right.
Yeah, that's right.
So years ago when I started this business, I created like a fake Erin. Her name was Melissa. And I had all these things about Melissa. And then I met Erin and I was like, oh my gosh, Aaron's Melissa.
It's Aaron.
And so now
Wow.
whenever I write a book or I have ideas or anything, like I think about her. Sometimes I would even call her in like outlining process where I'm standing in front of a whiteboard. I'm like, Aaron Moon, would this be helpful to you? Would you enjoy this? Would this meet your needs right now?
Wow.
So yeah, so
Wow.
I did. I thought about Aaron every single page, and which is great because I love her deeply.
Yeah. We have Hannah, Clara, and Drew.
Okay, you've got 3.
So
I love it.
yeah, everything we make, we know who we're making it for, whether
Yeah.
we're making it for Hannah, Clara, or Drew, and we know why we are doing it, and it is like, okay, this is, and we have some. We know if we make it for one of them, the others will show up. We know, like we have some strategy around it, but Hannah, Clara, and Drew.
It's
we
so
talk about them.
clarifying.
We talk about them like they are humans.
Right.
We know where they shop. I mean, it is like, I don't have an Aaron Moon to my Melissa, but when my friend Emma worked for us, Emma was a very close to one of them. So once we made the list, we said, is this true of you? She was like, yeah, but the difference is I don't use Young Living oil. I use this instead. And we were like, scratch. Like we were like, yep, that's exactly a difference that we would not have known because we are not her.
That's right. That's right.
It's the best practice. It's
It
the best
is.
practice. For our friends listening, Amy Porterfield can teach you how to do this. Jasmine Starr can teach you how to do this. It's part of their courses.
Marie Forleo is the one who taught me how to do this. Yeah, it's just it's a great, if you do any sort of messaging to anyone in
Yes.
your job, it's an excellent, excellent clarifying practice. So more business tips with Annie and Kendra after the break.
Listen, if there is one thing, well, 2 things I get chirped at about people wanting me to talk more about, it's leading a business and my dating life. These are the 2 things people want me to do more podcast about. And one is more available than the other at this particular juncture. So let's talk business.
Love it.
Okay, one thing you said in the book, you made a list of all your trips you want to go on.
Yeah.
You said you want to go back to New York with Jamie Golden, and you did it.
I did
Kendra
it.
Adachi. Y'all did it.
I went to see Jacob Collier in concert. Like the things that I wrote. Okay, so in the book, I have a chapter called it's called "What to Do with Goals and Dreams," because like big productivity loves for us to have big goals and dreams. And there's nothing wrong with them on paper. And if they matter to you, you should do them. The problem, I think, is when we start from there. If we start from our big goals and our big dreams, then we're always behind because we're not paying attention to where we are today. And today really matters. We need to honor where we are and who we are today. That said, because I am such such an eager student, historically such an eager student of all time management, everything. And I'm a Enneagram 1 and I'm a perfectionist and I like for things to be just so. Like I'm kind of a, not nice all the time, very judgmental. And so what I would do is I would put so much stock in what I thought I was supposed to be doing, AKA make big goals and have big dreams. And anything now, as I have unlearned a lot of that and disentangled myself from a lot of that kind of performance being what makes me valuable, which it does not, I'm still not far enough away from the muscle memory of how I used to feel about being sort of beholden to these big goals and dreams, that if I call something a dream or a goal, it just like makes me squirrely. And so I have this thing that I call, I just all I had to do is rename it. And I call it the someday list. And it's just, these are things I want to do someday. And I actually teach how to, make it and think through it and how to break it down and make things happen if you want them to. But yeah, I think at least 2 of the things that were on my someday list when I wrote the book, I've done. And I'm so happy. And one of them, was to go back to New York with Jamie, which you helped make happen. Thank you. It was so fun.
Well, of course, I'm so happy y'all stayed at my place and that y'all got to, the most fun thing has been a couple of friends who have who have needed my place when I'm not there. Yeah. And it has just been, it just feels like it is such a gift to me. So it meant so much to me that y'all chose to be there and that you made memories there. And so I just love it. I absolutely love it.
I mean, we saw Daniel Radcliffe and Jonathan Groff on stage. Like, come on, people. Like, let's just...
The show I wish would never have closed.
I know.
I would go see it.
So good.
I mean, it is so good. And now
Merrily We Roll
just
Along,
gone.
everybody. Now it's gone.
Yeah, sorry, Merrily We Roll Along.
This is a sad conversation because it's now gone.
Okay, but here's the thing. I have another friend who just did an art installation and was grieving having to take it down.
Okay.
And I said, but the thing about chefs is they make this beautiful food that feeds us.
Yeah.
And they have actually succeeded when it's gone because it means we've been fed.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I think that might be true about Marilee. I think that might be true about my friend's art installation, that like, it's good that it's gone because it means we were fed.
That's right. That's a good word. Yeah. Yeah, I would be fed by that show any day. It was so great.
Gosh, it was just
so great.
It was, and one of my friends had said when they got to the end of Marilee, she said, I was weeping at the end. And the first time I went and saw it, I think I've told you this, but the first time I went and saw it, so for everybody listening, it's about these three friends, and the show goes backwards from their last day of friendship when everything blows up and you know it will not recover, and it goes backwards to their first day of friendship. And so I did not cry when I watched the show. But I, for 3 days, just dipped lower and lower. And the third day, I was like, what am I feeling? Why am I so sad? My life is fine. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is Marilee. I took the slow release pill of Marilee. We roll along.
Sometimes
and my
that
friend
happens.
took the fast release pill.
Oh my gosh.
I was
Oh my
sad for 3
gosh.
days.
Yes. But
Unbelievable.
it's a beautiful thing to have a list of things, even if it's just two things, one thing that you're like, man, I really hope I get to do that someday. And then what a gift when you do, when you just make it happen. I love that. So yes.
I'm going to ask you this is a between two ferns level question. Are you prepared?
Sure. Thank you, Zach. I can't wait.
Yeah. This is the question. As I laid in my bed last night reading this book, I said, I wanted to ask you, how are you so smart?
Trauma.
That is not helpful.
Oh my gosh.
But so as I refine this question,
Yeah, sure.
in my mind, because I couldn't be the one who said, how are you so smart? Or how do you do this? What you have done for the last decade or so is you have taken a world that is really challenging for women and you have simplified it so that we can hold it and be our best selves. How did you do that? How did you do that? What did God give you? What do you know about yourself that made you uniquely situated to do this work?
Yeah.
That's a better question.
That's a great question. And it feels, to be perfectly honest and vulnerable in this moment right now, but to try to model it better. Because one of the things that women don't do super great is say what they're good at. We feel
that's right.
We feel bad. We feel like we're being narcissistic or drawing into all those things. And so I am going
Bragging,
I'm going to in this moment sort of confidently say some of the things, but just know that it begins with me having to literally give this disclaimer of like, but I do honestly believe in my marrow that I am uniquely created and qualified to write this particular book because I've been waiting for someone to do this since I was 20. I think there's something in me that has always wanted there to be more compassionate time management because I'm not compassionate towards myself by default. I'm moving in that direction more and more. And I would actually say I am in general. Like it has become more of the default, but not without a ton of work to get there. But I grew up in an abusive home, so there's a lot of trauma in my life. There is a desire, like I said, for perfection and doing things super well and always being excellent. And I also think that my spiritual gift is wisdom. So that's another component. And I think there's a lot of wisdom that is, obviously the gospel is very wise, but there's a lot of daily wisdom that exists in scripture and in the presence of the Holy Spirit that we sort of only keep spiritual. And it's like, no, this is actually really great for making lists, guys. There's some really good wisdom in how we approach even how we manage our time. And then also I just think God has made me I'm a teacher. I like to make complicated things simple. So all of those things together in one person who happens to also be good at writing and speaking, which doesn't always happen. Like there are a lot of people who are, I'm not saying a lot of things. I'm not saying anything new. There are a lot of people who live their lives, and you might read this book, you might read my other books, you might listen to my podcast episodes, and you're like, oh, I do that. I do that. And I think that's wonderful. I'm not the only one who does anything. What I am trying to humbly hold is that all of these different components of my sort of giftings and desires and talents together has made it so that I'm just sharing what a lot of people might already be doing, but in a way that is more accessible for more people and on a platform and all of that. Yeah. And so, but I will say that when I wrote this book, and I might have told you this, but when I wrote this book, I don't like writing books. It's like my least favorite part of being an author.
Yeah.
The actual writing. Because it's like you have to be so bad for so long before something good comes out.
Wait, you dislike writing worse than editing? Is editing fun for you because you make it better?
I love editing.
Oh, we're a great pair because
gosh.
I could write my first draft and never look back.
I'm like, please make me look back. Please don't let me look ahead. I can't only look at this one time.
I force myself. I have to force myself, Annie, you get to do this one time. You get to edit this book one time, and then there's a chance it exists forever. So you have to. And when I'm like writing first draft, I'm like, send, send.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay, so the writing is your least favorite part.
The writing is my least favorite part. But when I wrote the plan, it was almost an out-of-body experience. Like it was so supernatural. It was so like, this is what your life has sort of vocationally been leading to. This is what you're here to do. And so, and that's, again, I'm not trying to be like weird and braggy about it. It's an honor for that to be the case. And based on the feedback I've gotten from people who have already read it, it's changing their lives. And it's not me.
Yes.
I'm not the one doing it. It just happens to be, I put the words in a certain order and it kind of makes sense in your own life. Because ultimately, I would like to work myself out of a job. Ultimately, you should not require me to know how to lazy genius your life. I want to teach you how to see your life that way and then get out of the way because you know your life better than I do. And so it's just this book has been a sincere, genuine privilege from start to finish because it just feels very alive in a way that I didn't expect, I guess. So
I'm sure you're talking about this a lot, but we had a question come in about it too. So I'll do a follow-up question. We let our friends on the AFD Week in Review email on Fridays always know who's coming in the next week. So they get this exclusive opportunity to ask questions to y'all. So we had a question about this that I want to follow up with. But one of the things you really start outlining in the book is our to-do list, our go get it, our like list of things we got to get done. The pace at which the world runs right now was never really built for women to succeed.
No, not at all.
Will you talk a little bit about that? Because that was kind of we have a button for this. The Wowie Zowie button. That like blew my mind when I read it. I was like, oh, this, just like the Industrial Revolution made school where you sit and where you walk in lines not friendly for young boys and for men, something about how culture has been shaped is not friendly to women.
Yeah.
And how we're naturally made. Will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the 93% of time management books are written by men.
That's crazy.
And it's a very high number. And it's not that, hear me. I feel like I because this is a paradigm shifting book. I want to be really clear in like, I'm not holding people's feet to the fire in this or being like, these dudes are dumb. Like I got half of them. I'm staring at them on my bookshelf right now. Like a lot of these books are incredibly valuable and helpful and have tools that we've all been using. But what the male authors in this space miss or don't have, well, number one, they do not have bosses because authors typically do not have bosses.
Yeah.
And if you're managing your time, it's much easier to do that if you are your own boss, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The second thing is men typically are not holding the mental load of the entire home, whether you have kids or not. Like they're just, they're not, there's just a different energy and expectation for women in the domestic things compared to men. And so if you are not holding the the invisible scaffolding of your entire home and family and ecosystem, then you can arrange your time around your hobbies and your health and not checking your email after 3 and like all of these different things. You have that ability, that privilege, really. And then the third thing they don't have is
that's true for single women too, actually, if we're telling the whole truth, is we while we do manage our own homes, we also have the ability to build our daily calendar a little differently, because when we get home, we are mostly only responsible to ourselves.
right. And
If we do not have kids,
that's true. But I also think that even single women, it's women in general. If you were to ask a single dude versus a single woman, what are you carrying? What do you feel responsible for?
Right.
What are you, the list of the lady is going to be so much longer.
So much longer.
Because
100%.
of the cultural expectations of what is a woman's to hold and what is a man's to hold. And
I
so
think you're 100% right.
it's for everybody. And then the third thing that the dudes don't have is periods. And so that's a whole thing.
Thank you for going into that in the book, of going like, hey, you need to be paying attention to where you are in your cycle, because that is affecting your ability to do what you want to do.
Yeah. It's there. What I want for people with this book that I think has been incomplete, right? That's the word that I like to use about the systems and the expertise that exists right now in the time management space, is I just believe it's incomplete. Because even the 7% of women that are kind of speaking into this, they're still existing within a paradigm I think is harmful to a lot of people, and also especially to women if it's not yours. And that paradigm is that the goal is greatness and we're serving an invisible future. Everything is in service to an invisible future, and you need to be great and have potential and master your time and get there. Everything is in service to that invisible future. And I'm like, that is exhausting. And I also, I don't say this explicitly in the book, because this is not I am a Christian, and I have like a paragraph in there about how your faith can be a big part of how you see this. But I think that this is a universal thing, but it is a gospel message to be like, I'm not great. Like the greatness is not mine. And instead, I want to be who I am, where I am today. I'm going to start today, and I'm going to be an integrated whole person, no matter what the circumstances are around me. And so if you think about it, just stop and think about it for a second. If you change your goal from greatness, and that's the only goal we've been given so far. If you change your goal from greatness to integration, to I'm going to be a whole person. And if you start today from where you are today, not start today, you start with today. You're not starting something today. You are starting with where you are today. You're being here rather than starting from this invisible future. It literally changes everything. It changes how you practically manage your time. It changes what's important. It changes how you see how you're spending your time, and like what you're letting go of, and what you're delegating, and what you're prioritizing. And it changes how you pay attention to all of the different facets of yourself that you're bringing to the table, whether it is your energy based on your hormones, whether it is your faith, whether it is the amount of sleep you got last night, whether it is that you had a really hard conversation with a friend last night, and today you're just like, or you saw Merrily, and for 3 days you're sad.
Yeah.
Like it's naming those things. It's being aware of who we are as whole people right now, and recognizing that, especially as women, the edges are much more fluid than they are for men. Like there's just a lot of like movement, a beautiful movement in the inner life of people, but I think especially in the inner life of women, because of all of these different things that are happening and changing. They're still us, but they're the recipe, the ratio of those things kind of varies depending on so many things. And so that's why time management systems don't work for women, because they don't invite that into, they don't honor today. They don't honor who you are. They're like, you're a robot. You pick what you want your life to look like in 20 years. And now you reverse engineer it and work the plan. I am so tired just even saying that sentence.
I know.
Like it's so exhausting. And so there's a way for it to not be exhausting, for it to actually be like fulfilling and light. And it's not that your life doesn't have chaos or stress, or that it's not busy, or that you don't get upset at your people or any of that, but that you come back to the center of yourself, whatever that is. And for the people who are listening to the show, it's the Holy Spirit. That's not what it is for everybody, but that you come back to the center of who you are, you honor today, and then you look out, then you look ahead. We're just not taught that anywhere. And it's so valuable and life-giving to live that way.
That sounds fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation to tell you about one of our incredible partners, Thrive Cosmetics. Listen, y'all know I love a lipstick, so I need you to know about this lip trick I discovered from Thrive Cosmetics. Can we call it a lip trick? I think so. It's their sheer strength hydrating lip tint. It is super lightweight, easy to apply lip tint that lasts up to 6 hours. You don't even need to worry about pulling out a mirror to put it on. It's balmy, it's not sticky, so it starts hydrating your lips really quickly. And over time, it gives you visibly softer and smoother lips, which y'all know is super helpful as it gets colder outside. We got to keep those lips hydrated. And there are 8 perfect fall shades to choose from too. I mean, Thrive Cosmetics can do no wrong. I, hand to heaven, use their viral tubing mascara every day as well. I know y'all have seen it all over the internet, you know, the one with the turquoise tube. If you've been thinking about trying it out, today is the day. Plus, Thrive Cosmetics has thousands of 5-star reviews, so you know I'm not the only one singing their praises. All of their products are certified 100% vegan and cruelty-free, and they're made with skin-loving, high-performance, and trademarked formulas. They also donate to 8 major causes, including those impacted by cancer, domestic abuse, and veteran and educational organizations. Spice up your fall look with Thrive Cosmetics, luxury beauty that gives back. Right now, you can get an exclusive 20% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/TSF. Like that sounds fun. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/TSF for 20% off your first order. And another incredible partner to tell you about that I also use every single day, our friends over at Wayfair. Listen, if you're counting down the days to decorate your house for Thanksgiving and Christmas, Wayfair is the place to shop for all things home this holiday season, from sofas to spatulas and everything you need for holiday hosting. They've got fun festive cookware, cozy bedding, and so much holiday decor. The holidays can be stressful, but Wayfair makes it so easy to get your home holiday ready. There's seriously something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget. Wayfair is your one-stop holiday shop for everything on your to-do list. If you need extra seating for the whole family or more bedding sets for your guest room, listen, please tell me you have 2 sets of sheets. It will make your life so much easier. And Wayfair has got you covered. And they have free and easy shipping, even on the big stuff. They'll even help you set it up. You've heard me tell this story before. It was a game changer in New York when they set up some of my furniture for me. Saved the day. Y'all know I love my Wayfair stuff. It has made my New York apartment feel like such a sweet little home. So I'm already scrolling their app thinking about what things I need to get for the holidays, but I'm also on a budget, so I'm scrolling carefully, but Wayfair helps me with that as well. Wayfair is your one-stop holiday shop for everything on your to-do list this season. Head to wayfair.com right now to get your home holiday ready. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Okay, now back to our conversation with Kendra.
That sounds fun.
As you led the way, you went first being vulnerable. I have the gift of going second. I can't suss out. I know God's bringing it to mind over and over right now for a reason, but I can't suss out why I ignore my body and ignore when I think I could rest, and I go, but you got to go. You got to do it. Like, you don't get a choice. Go and do. And is it that greatness? And also, I move fast all the time, Kendra. You know this about me. Like, one of my spiritual practices is slowing down. And part of it is, well, I've got to get to this, to get to this, to get to this. But it's that invisible future of like, well, where are you going? Why aren't you just right here?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The only time I don't wear a watch is when I'm on a date. That is the only time I don't wear a watch. And that is because my brain has to say, do not rush this to the next thing because this matters. So talk to me about why I do that. Why do I rush to greatness and to this invisible future? Why am I seemingly so far pretty incapable of slowing down in a really good way?
Well, there are 2 things that come to mind. One is you're a future-oriented person. Like, as an Enneagram 7, that's just what it is. Your orientation to time is the future. And listen, we need that. We need people who are like, let's go. Look at this cool thing that we get to, like, we need those people. We need people like Emily P. Freeman to go, hey, let's look back over here. Did you hear my voice got lower? Let's look back over here. Let's slow down and let's look back. And I think we need people like me who are like, hey, where are you right now? Let's pay attention to right now.
Yeah.
Because I'm present oriented.
Yeah.
And so it's not that we have to, I don't want for the question that comes up in you or the question that might come up in other people of like, why am I not better at this? Fill in the blank. Probably it's because the way that you are made leads you like a little closer to this side of things that you're like, oh, this is just harder for me. It's not that you're not good at it. It just might be more challenging for the way that you are wired to slow down. Just like it's more challenging for me to be okay with good enough.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't mean that we eliminate the speed or the looking ahead or the rose-colored glasses or the whatever it might be for any person. It's not that you're trying to eliminate those, because those things make you who you are. Those things are valuable to who you're with and to your own self and how you're made. So that's the first thing is we're not trying to make everybody do this the same way or be the same way about it. We all have different things that we're going to be, it's going to come easier, more naturally, easier. It's going to be a little bit harder. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, but it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means you're being yourself where you are.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is that we tend to, and I think this is because of the way we've been taught and the productivity water that we swim in, it's just very binary. There's like a switch that if you're like, why am I like this? You know, why can't I seem to?
Why am I like this?
Fill in the blank. It's like we are Michael Scotting our Toby Flenderson in ourselves. And it's like, I hate everything that you choose to be or whatever. It's like, no, we don't need to do that. We're coming at this from a kind, compassionate place, especially towards ourselves. And so, but to release this expectation that either you do it or you don't, you're good at it or you're not, that it's a binary thing, that it's really just, to use a phrase of our other friend Shannon Martin, we're just going to drop as many names as possible, a phrase that Shannon Martin said, it's long haul. It's long haul work of just being a person, of going like, some days you're going to find it easier to be where you are. Some days you're not. And it doesn't mean that the days that you're not, that you did it wrong. It just means you're being a human being. So not seeing it as a binary, and then also not seeing it as like a deficit in you, that the way that you're naturally made is somehow a deficit, makes me really sad to think about.
Yeah. The question that one of our friends wrote in that I think is really interesting is she said, so in this economy of life we find ourselves in, what role are women responsible for? Like, what role is modern feminism responsible for as far as keeping us in this system? Because I do think there are times where I'm bought into the patriarchy as much as anybody else, because it rewards you when you work hard, and it rewards, like,
sure.
So where are we playing a role in this system? That, because I feel like when people jump into the plan, not only are they going to get to change their lives, they're modeling something different outside of the system that's breaking us.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Well, and I think that could be for most people where it begins and where it ends. That if you put on the pressure on yourself, even if it's enthusiastic pressure, but if you put the pressure on yourself of like, and I'm going to be the one to change the system. What are big things that I can do to change the system? Like most big things that happen are just a series of little things by a lot of different people. And so kind of going back to like, just start with today, start where you are. And experience what it looks like in your own life, because it's going to look different for every single person. What modern feminism looks like in my home versus your home versus the home of my next door neighbor and your next door neighbor and all these different people listening, it will look different because different things matter to different people, and we're all in different seasons of life. And so to start, that's why it's so valuable to start where you are. What matters to you in this season? And what matters today? And as you kind of look at these frameworks and these concepts and these principles and you live with them slowly, and you can recognize like, oh, okay, in my home, like for example, in my home, my husband and my sons, they take care of the grass and the trash. That's what the dudes typically do in a lot of households, right? That's kind of all they do is the grass and the trash. That's what I call it. And in our home, I take care of all the food. And so then if you start to look at how my husband and I do life, you're like, well, you're falling into the rhythms of that everybody else does. We actively have chosen, I cook because I cook better than he does. And I like it more. So like, I'm just going to do everything with food. Do you know what I hate doing? Cleaning up after dinner, and I hate doing laundry. Guess what Kaz does? Cleans up after dinner, and the kids, and he does laundry. Like if you look at our sort of division of labor, it's actually pretty even. And we've had but that came from a lot of conversations. So it's not so much that it's the same thing with the Enneagram, because I know a lot of people who listen to your show love the Enneagram. It's not that we're judging the behaviors or looking at the behaviors of the women in our lives of like, are you bucking the system and never cooking for your family? Those are not the same thing.
Congratulations, you've done it.
Those are not the same thing.
That's right.
What we're doing is we're changing how we're thinking about it. That I say to my kids, hey guys, so we have grown up in a country that has taught everyone that the mom just does most of the things. And you do the things if mom tells you to do the things. But that's not fair to anybody, because that burns mom out. That doesn't teach you really great skills. It also doesn't make us a family. And so we're going to do things differently, and it's going to require some work because a lot of people aren't necessarily doing it this way. And so let's do it together. And like it's those daily tiny choices based on what matters to us right now. But it doesn't necessarily mean that like if you're a lady, you're never going to cook or clean again. It just means you're intentionally choosing with whatever your situation is. Okay, this is mine. This is yours. If there's no yours, if it's just mine, if you're single, it's like, okay, well, this is mine and it sucks that all of this is mine. How can I make it so that I don't feel as alone in this thing? Or where can I delegate this? Where can I share this other thing? How can I have a community around this thing that a lot of other people naturally do because they have a spouse or whatever? Like you're just being thoughtful about it, and your behaviors might not even change.
Beautiful.
But when your mindset does, everything still changes.
And I'll tell you, the interesting thing you write about in the book is inside of the plan, there's a lot of give yourself permission to change your mind.
Yes.
And to change what you think. And I cannot tell you how freed up I got when I said, Annie, just because you're a woman does not mean you have to like cooking.
That's right.
You don't have to like this.
Nope, not at all.
This is not deciding whether anyone marries you. This is not, even though the quickest way to a man's heart is through his stomach is a saying for a reason, but like, that's just, I don't enjoy it. And when I got released from what I thought a Southern white woman was supposed to be, I started thriving as a human and going like, oh, I don't have to want to do that. Guess what? I don't have to want to do that. And I'm still feminine, and I'm still a girl, and I'm still all the things. I will clean up dishes for the rest of my existence, and I pray to God he cooks. Like, I just want him to cook. I love doing dishes. I love that there's a completion to the job.
Sure.
You know when you're done. Love it. And so will you talk a little bit about changing your mind? I think this is like, we have a guest coming on the podcast. Sorry, friends listening, I'm not sure if you hear him before or after this. A single pastor named Ryan Weckerman coming on the show. And he talks about you're allowed to not want to get married today, and you're allowed to change your mind tomorrow. There's just this... There's a theme in the world right now, particularly of faith people, of like, hey, you're allowed to change your mind.
Yeah.
You're allowed to change your mind. Why is that so powerful? It was so powerful for me, Kendra.
Yeah. Well, it feels like it's the other message of, set it and forget it is pretty common in standard productivity mindsets.
Yeah.
Okay, you lock this in because if you want to achieve your goals, then you got to be consistent. And if you're being like, "Oh, I don't know if this is working anymore," it just means you're not being disciplined enough. That's really the message that we get, which is wrong.
Somebody.
It's wrong.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I suppose, well, let's back up. I suppose sometimes that could be right. Sometimes we're not disciplined. Sometimes we do choose something and we're like, I don't wanna. I mean, I hate paying my bills. There's so many things I hate doing. And you're like, well, you gotta still do them, girl. Like, you gotta be responsible and do the thing. Like, there are things that not everything is gonna be, as they say, unicorns and rainbows. Like, but there is this
a lack
underlying
of discipline is actually like a much bigger question.
Yes.
Like you don't lack discipline. There is something you have found the wrong button to push. You are in the wrong system. Like, so I'm totally with you. Most of my decisions that read like a lack of discipline, actually there's a question under the question.
Yeah, 100%. And there's also not a lot of invitation for people who are neurodivergent, or who have chronic illness and they're dealing with things all the time in their bodies that like don't allow them to even be disciplined in the normative way. So that is also missing from the conversation. So there's a lot of that there's a set it and forget it. And if you don't stick it out, then you're not being disciplined enough. And the problem is you. Almost certainly the problem is not you. The problem is the system that you're living in and swimming in and you didn't know was actually happening. And you're unlearning a lot and you're learning a new way now.
Yes.
And then I also think that there is a conflation sometimes in faith spaces, in Christian spaces, not all faith spaces, but in Christian spaces that, it's sort of this conflation of like, always like be prepared and have your answer. Like always, be sure of what your salvation is. We have now made it so that you have to be that sure about literally everything.
That's right.
That there is
the
this
Bible says to be sure of the hope that you have, not how you're voting, not what you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so there's
Say it, girl.
We have made the my church has this framework that they call the 3 C's. I don't know where it came from, but it's basically you have things that are core values, right? And these are the things, if we're talking again about the Christian space, these are the things that if you're like, if we disagree on this, then we disagree fundamentally on what it means to be a Christian. And that's like, is Jesus the Son of God? And did he die?
Yeah, that's it.
Like, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the center of it, right?
That's right, Kendra.
And then outside of that are commitments. And there are things that you're like, this to me personally is something that I am committed to in my own Christian life and in the church that I belong to or whatever it might be, that I'm like, to my best understanding, this is how I interpret scripture for these things. And this is what I'm committed to. But I'm leaving space that there are going to be other people who are committed to different interpretations of scripture. And that does not make them any more or less of a Christian. And then the outside one, and this is all in Romans, you guys. And then the outside one is personal convictions. And there are those verses in Romans that are like, it talks about weak and strong-minded faith. And that if it's not that you're like, weak means bad, it just means that you really struggle to sort of accept that other people might drink alcohol when you feel like for you, it is just not something that you think fits into your faith. But what we do is people who, if you don't drink, you don't look down on the people who do drink. Yeah. And if you do drink, you don't judge the people who don't drink. We do this thing where we make things that are in the personal commitment circle or the personal conviction circle, and even in the commitment circle, in the center, in the core.
Yeah, that's right.
And so what that means for your question about even just time management is, again, it's this conflation of if you change your mind about something that could even be pretty benign to you, that's in one of those outer 2 circles, but someone else has kind of put it in the middle and not realized that that's what they're doing, then it puts this sort of, it pollutes the water and being like, well, what do you mean? You can't change your mind. Are you weak in your faith? Are you stumbling now? Like there's all these words that we have from growing up in that culture. And it's really wild for people who grew up in evangelical spaces, especially, who are women and who are also just trying to like live well in this world that we have. When you have sort of those messages in your body and you don't really recognize that they're there, and you're like, it makes it so that when you change your mind, you feel like a piece of trash. You feel like an undisciplined, terrible person.
Or you have like, you have turned your back on who you said you were going to be when you were 22.
Right. And listen, I think for what it's worth, I think most of us should turn our backs on who we said we were going to be when we were 22.
Bless God. You better say that. You better say that. Listen, pull that quote, Jenna. Pull that quote. Turn our backs on who we said we were going to be when we were 22.
I was such a traumatized idiot when I was 22. Girl had not gone to therapy. Girl had not, like, she had lived hard things, but like, we just see it. Yeah, it's like we are on a conveyor belt. And the way that we are when we're placed on the conveyor belt better not change or we're doing something wrong. And that is not what life is. That is not what life in the spirit is. Like, that's just not how it works. And so, that's true in faith spaces. It's true in time management spaces. Like, you're allowed to change your mind.
Yeah, because the time management thing, I mean, what the plan teaches us, I cannot wait for people to get this in the next day as it releases tomorrow when they're hearing this. What it does is it says, let's talk about time management as an example of who you are as a human and every other way that you can grow and change and be. Because as you were doing it, I mean, I need you to know, I'm probably going to post about this before people see it. I cried in my time with the Lord this morning for the first time in probably, I don't know how long, in a long time. And part of what triggered it was some things I read last night in your book about time management that spoke to me about how the rest of my life is going. And so I think that's the gift of the plan, is it feels like, yes, I'm going to read this and do time management different and better for myself. But how is this affecting my spiritual life and my emotional life and my physical health and my relationships?
Yeah.
So you bamboozled us hard on this one, Kendra.
I didn't mean to bamboozle. I didn't mean to.
It is what
But I do think that that's what, this is a book of compassionate time management.
Yes.
That values and honors contentment.
Yes. That's it. That's it.
And so if you are compassionate, if you have a posture of compassion towards yourself and towards your life, doesn't mean you have to love every part of it, that if you have a posture of compassion and you are resting where you are now, again, you don't have to love every part. You don't have to even like anything about where you are. But if you have this underlying sense of there is good here right now, I'm going to be kind to myself no matter how I'm feeling about it. I can't really change these circumstances, but sometimes I rail, but I really want to come back to I don't want that to be the center of things. I want to come back to a place of compassion and contentment. And that sort of slows down life naturally. That it does. It makes you look at other things too. Like, it's all connected, because life is connected. Like, that's what life is. Like, I made a reel about this just yesterday. We have reduced living to getting things done.
It was great. You sat crisscross applesauce on your couch.
On my couch. And we don't, that's not the life I think any of us want to live. Nope, that's not it.
That sounds fun.
Hey friends, just interrupting this conversation one more time to tell you about one of our incredible partners, Shopify. Let's think about a business that's selling like crazy, like Magic Spoon, we love them, or Thrive Cosmetics, obviously, you've heard already, we love them. But when we think about those businesses, we typically think about their great products. We don't often think about the businesses behind the business, the ones helping get the products into our hands and making that whole process super easy. For millions of businesses, the behind-the-scenes magic is Shopify, and that's definitely true for us at shop.anniefdowns.com. We don't get to put merch in your hands without the help of Shopify. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. And one of their not so secret secrets is Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Thrive Cosmetics and ShopAnnieFDowns.com uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at Shopify.com/soundsfun, all lowercase. Again, that's Shopify.com/soundsfun to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/soundsfun. And now back to finish up our conversation with Kendra.
That sounds fun.
Someone gets this book tomorrow and does like I did and reads it in one sitting. I read it over a couple of hours over my evening. I saw no friends. I spoke to no one. I had the Falcons game on in the background, but truly it was just you and I for our entire Monday night.
I love it.
Talk a little bit. You talk about this at the end of the book, but I'd love for you to release people from it now. If they decide to read the whole thing tomorrow or the whole thing this week, and then they go, I'm going to change everything.
Yeah.
That is so not possible. So what do we do after we've read the plan? What is our first move?
I would say the first move, if you are a person who highlights things in a book, practically speaking, I would go to the first section of the book, because there are 3 sections in the book. There's a section of principles, a section of strategies, and then a section of pep talks. And one of the pep talks is when you're done reading this book and it talks you down from the ledge of wanting to do everything at once.
Yes.
So just read that pep talk. That's what you can do.
Yes.
But I do think that we let strategies get ahead of principles and mindset a lot. And I say this in the introduction of the book, that I'm like, hey, I know you want to skip ahead. And I think you might even know what I'm going to say in this principle section. You think you know what I'm going to say. You don't. You don't know what I'm going to say.
That's it. You don't.
But we want to know what to do. We're programmed to figure out what it is we're supposed to do. And so I would say go back to the first section of principles, which is about how you think and see and experience your life and your time. Go back to that first section and skim what you might have highlighted, or there's some there's some sentences that are sort of pulled out in bold already on the page for you. Yeah. And you go back and you listen to your body as you are reading. And if something's like, oh, just start with that and hold that sentence today and tomorrow. Like, just live with that as true and be like, what does this mean if this is true for me today? And start with today. And then you just it's small. Starting small is one of the 13 Lazy Genius principles in my first book, The Lazy Genius Way. And starting small is so annoying. She is the most annoying of all 13 principles. We kind of hate her, but we also are like, but you bring the best potato salad.
But we respect her.
We do. Like, we need you here. Like, we really need you here. And so we need smallness and small steps in this, because that is what actually lasts. It's not the big swings. It's not the big systems. It's not the big black trash bag energy. It is, where are you today? What small thing are you going to do today? Singular thing. What singular small thing are you going to do today? And think about today and see how it impacts maybe your behaviors. And then you just keep doing that day after day.
I cannot wait for people to get this, Kendra. Like I said, a book about time management made me cry in my time with the Lord. So it is a special book. And the last question I got to ask you, because multiple people asked us this who sent in questions, talk for just a second about being on the Office Ladies Network. I'm done. Is it just the coolest thing ever that your podcast is on their network? I mean, it seems very cool from my vantage point.
It is very cool. Jenna and Angela are exactly who you think they are. They're exactly who you think they are. Like, they are really just delightful, like, regular people. I think, there is a, that whole, like, celebrities, they're just like us. Listen, Kim Kardashian is not like me. There are some that are not like me.
She's not like me. I would be friends with her, but she is not like me. Our lives are not the same.
There are plenty there's plenty of separation when you have a lot of access to a lot of things, and that's normal and fine. But there are, I think, some people who have experienced, like, the spotlight in really big ways and celebrity, and have handled it with a lot of, like, humility and wisdom, and they're just themselves.
Yeah.
And Jen and Angela are exactly what you want them to be, what you think they are. Like, they really are. They are so fantastic. They're like, I feel a little bit like whenever we email, like, we'll start there was one meeting, we were talking about network stuff. And we started the meeting, and Jenna was like, I just need to tell you, I was reading your book last night, and I had to go back to one of the pep talks this morning because I was feeling really weird, and I read one of the pep talks, and I felt so much better. So thank you. And I was like, you're welcome. Like, it was so, but also I think that what that has taught me, it's 2 things. Just because, and this is true for everybody, no matter what the work you do is, there is something that feels like a little extra when someone that we, like, deeply respect and possibly might be a little more known or, like, kind of cool, or, you know what I'm saying? When they like what we do,
Yeah.
There's like this boon to that, and I think that's normal. I think that's a really normal thing. And also, it's like if, you're leaving a comment on one of Annie's posts and she responds to you and you're like, Annie responded to my post. Like it's the most fun thing that you like their idea or whatever. Like it's really, that's a real thing. And also it's sort of shown me like I want my work to be valuable to people. And Jen and Angela just happen to be two of those people, and it doesn't mean that it matters more because they suddenly like it. So I think that's true for all of us, is like, you don't need someone that you like esteem in a, I don't know, sort of in like this celebrity sort of social way to validate what you're doing in order for it to matter. Just live your lives and let it matter. It matters. It's so beautiful to who you're with. It matters. And they're great. They're very cool, normal, lovely people.
Yeah, I believe it. You're doing one of my favorite things. And I think I love pastors and I love Christian artists and I love Christian authors. I love people who do work for faith people. I think it's really important. Mm-hmm. But man, I get lit up when faith people make mainstream work that's really celebrated, because it just reminds, and you do, and we call it sneaky Jesus, right? So you just do some of the most beautiful sneaky Jesus work of anybody I know, because your work is so well received by women, no matter what they believe when they pick up your work. It's so I just think, and again, this isn't about the office ladies. I have no idea what their faith life is like. This isn't about them at all. This is just in general. I have so much love for and respect for you for how you steward this lane that you have been given that is unique for faith people. And so I honor you so much for how you're stewarding that lane.
Thank you. I received that. That's really kind. And it's, I'm glad. I think that it just speaks to the goodness of the good news, that even if you don't know that it's Jesus, it's still good for you. And
that's it.
That's a beautiful thing. And then just like let the Holy Spirit like do their thing,
That's it.
It's great.
That's it. We smell like Jesus. We are the aroma of Christ, whether people know what they're smelling or not.
Yeah.
That's it. So, all right, sisters, anything we didn't say you want to make sure we say?
I don't think so.
I think we covered a lot of things. I feel so encouraged. I feel so lit up. I feel like I could jump off a cliff, but I don't have to. I can relax.
Oh my gosh, should that have been the subtitle of the book? I feel like I could jump off a cliff, but I don't have to.
You're welcome to use it. Kendra, please come back anytime. You're welcome absolutely anytime. So please come back.
Thank you for having me, Annie.
Love you, my friend. Oh, you guys, don't you love her? She's brilliant. She's brilliant. I mean, you heard me ask her, how are you this smart? That's not the best interview question, but my gosh, she is just brilliant. So grab your copy of The Plan. Go follow Kendra, the lazy genius, on social media. Tell her thank you for being on the show with us. If you enjoyed this episode, we've linked to the other time she was on That Sounds Fun. We've also linked to that freezer clean out in the show notes below. I also think you'll really love episode 869 with Emily P Freeman and episode 280 with Emily Lay. Two of my very favorite Emilys on the planet. If you have any questions from this episode, you can drop them in the Q&A box on your Spotify app if you're a Spotify listener, or send them straight to us on Instagram at That Sounds Fun Podcast. Make sure you're following over there. We will answer your questions. If you need anything else from me, I'm embarrassingly easy to find. Annie F. Downs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you may need me, that is where you can find me. I think that's it for me today, friends. Go out or stay home. Do something that sounds fun today, and I will do the same. Today, what sounds fun to me? Well, I am in Colorado today, and seeing the fall in Colorado is one of my favorite things. So that sounds fun to me today before I fly back to Nashville. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you back here on Thursday with my friend and one of your favorites around here. We're having a favorites kind of week. Lisa Turkhurst is here. We'll see y'all on Thursday.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Check 1, 2 on the microphone. Annie F. Downs in your car to your home. Every week it's something new. A deep talk or an interview. She'll make you laugh, she'll make you cry. When it's dark out, she's a light. When you're down, get you feeling right. Oh man, that sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Oh, that sounds fun.